Hi, everyone. Today I'm sitting with John Golden, who is the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Pipeliner CRM. John is also an Amazon best-selling author of the book Winning the Battle for Sales: Lessons on Closing every Deal from the World's Greatest Military Victories and Social Upheaval: How to Win at Social Selling. He's conducted over 700 interviews on the popular Sales Pop podcast. A globally acknowledged sales and marketing thought leader, speaker, and strategist. He's also the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Pipeliner CRM. And in his spare time, John is an avid martial artist. So that's a lot, John. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, listen, thanks, Paris.
Great. Do you, other than that colorful intro, is there anything else you'd like to add to introduce yourself to our audience?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, excellent. So you're based in San Diego, and you're originally from Ireland. Is that correct?
That's correct, indeed. Yeah, I'm a transplant.
And how long have you been in the States, and what brought you over there?
Yeah, in the States, coming up on 24, 25 years now, to be honest. And what brought me here in the first place is I came during the dot-com era. I was working for a small startup in Ireland, and they had opened sales and marketing organization and kind of moved the headquarters to the States and left the product development center back in Dublin. And then they asked me to move over to the States, and so I moved to Silicon Valley during the dot-com era in the late '90s, mid to late '90s, and that's what brought me here in the first place. So it's quite an introduction, actually, to be honest, to the States, because Silicon Valley and during the dot-com era was it wasn't like the rest of the States, so it was like going to another planet almost.
Yeah. Well, that's quite a journey, and it looks like the last roughly 7 years you've been now with Pipeliner. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I was running two performance improvement companies, Huthwaite, which is spin selling, and Omega Performance, which was credit training for banks. I was running them for the parent company, Informa. And then Informa sold the performance improvement companies, or we helped sell them to private equity. And after that, I went out and moved back we're over in the DC area, moved back to California, to San Diego, decided I was going to go it alone, do my own management consultancy. I found my first few clients, and one of them happened to be the founder and CEO of Pipeliner. And after doing a couple of projects with him, he asked me, persuaded me, cajoled me, and got me to join and partner with him, and give up building my own business and come on board and help drive Pipeliner. So, and it's worked out fantastic. So, good choice.
Yeah. So over that period, over those roughly 7 years, what kind of growth have you seen at Pipeliner?
Yeah, we've been growing year over year, and what's fantastic is we even grew last year, during the pandemic and stuff. So we've seen steady growth and significant growth, in fact, in the last number of years. So things have been going really well, and we've started to, we started out, we were kind of small mid-market in our approach or in our focus. We're now much more into larger and enterprise customers, so mid-market to large customers. So it's been going really well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So you made a transition from more smaller companies to mid-market and then up to enterprise. How did that work? What did you do to successfully move up market like that?
What we did to move up market. Number one is our product. We are very focused on product development. So our product, we've developed it extensively, added features and functionalities, sometimes ones that nobody else has, especially features that are more focused on sales teams. So you really need a sales team, a sales organization, and believe in process. And, so we have a lot of those enterprise features. And starting to really promote those features and people to adopt them allowed us to start to move upstream. And our reputation has grown also in the meantime as well. And as it can be seen, we do very well on all the independent review sites and all of that kind of thing too. So we have focused very, very hard on the product because we believe, number one, that it's great. There's a lot of people out there who focus on the marketing side, throw together a product, with some decent, okay functionality, and then focus really hard and put all their money and effort into marketing. We, on the other hand, put a lot of time, effort, and resources and money into developing the best product possible, because at the end of the day, we want our customers to be successful. We want them to be able to scale with the product, and that's what they're able to do.
Mm-hmm. One of the key unique selling features that I noticed as I was going through the website and watching the videos is that you put a lot of emphasis on the fact that the adoption of sales teams will be greater. Therefore, you're going to get productivity because people will enjoy using this more, and you'll have a higher adoption rate. Can you explain that to me a little more? I'm very curious how you're measuring that, and that seems to be what sets you all apart.
Yeah, and that goes back to the original founding of the company and the CEO, Nicholas Kimla, who is very, very committed to sales and to improving sales and looking at things from a sales perspective. And that is why we built the product for salespeople, and we made it visual, because at the end of the day, you use what you like. And if something is good and easy to use and visual and appealing, then you're more likely to use it. And what we always want to do is to be able to present the information in as visual a form as possible, so that the insights can be, gathered immediately, because obviously people process images faster than they process text. So that has been our focus. And so everything in the product, we try to visualize, and we continue to try and improve the visual elements, because that's what attracts people. That's what gets them to use it. They see benefit for themselves. And when salespeople come to use the product, they can see that this has been developed from a sales perspective. It's been done to help them to be more successful, to make life easier for them. And so they're getting the return from the product. Whereas a traditional CRM, to be perfectly frank, was always built from a management control, command and control perspective. It's like, let's build a system so we can get all the information that we want for management, so we can run all our reports. And the poor salespeople were forgotten in the equation. Well, we have redressed the balance, if you like. We took it from a salesperson point of view, but also because when you have salespeople using the system, then the management executives, then they're getting all the data they need. And for once, they're getting accurate data.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, I think I believe that whilst the CRM space is hyper competitive, I still think there's so much room to innovate within the CRM space, and I think it's pivoting in a lot of directions, because I see the emergence of these adjacent categories, and it's very interesting to me because I see, for example, the sales engagement space, the outreaches and sales lofts of the world that are mostly connected with outbound sales. I see other platforms that are really getting better at AI-driven coaching, so basically helping salespeople in real time, providing them answers and feedback about how to improve. I see all these things eventually getting melded into the CRM. Can you tell me what your vision is of the CRM space? What is a modern CRM going to look like in about 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as you said, you're correct. The space is quite crowded. There's a lot of adjacent things coming in. So there's lots of point solutions coming out. And the problem with all of that is that you end up with companies who end up buying like 5, 6, 10, 20 different, products. They keep layering them on because they get the shiny new toy syndrome and think, oh, this is going to help improve our sales. So, and I think oftentimes what's lost in that is the reality of the salesperson, because at the end of the day, you're loading tools upon tools upon tools upon these people, rather than understanding their day to day. What our vision is is to build as much into the product as possible that is sales focused, so that you don't have to have all these point solutions, you don't have to go outside, you don't have to have all these add-ins, etc. And we're
Mhm.
focused 100% on sales. That's where we focus. So we don't, we have marketing capabilities in the system, marketing automation, but from a sales perspective, we don't build it out for a marketing, organization. It's built for salespeople.
Mhm.
So things like that. We are expanding our platform. There's going to be some really exciting news coming out probably the end of the summer. The next major iteration of our platform, the next major edition. But our whole philosophy is around, number one, hyper focus on sales, and then making sure that the platform with our two, we have. With our APIs, that it's easily connected to other systems. With our automation engine, that it's very easy to remove rote or routine tasks. So again, you're taking the burden off salespeople, and you're automating so that it makes it much simpler, so they can focus on the high value activities. And obviously with all our sales enablement capabilities built in, with our relationship mappings, for buying centers, org charts, relationship graphs, account hierarchy.
Mhm.
So we have built so much in so that you can really have a comprehensive view of of your sales process, but a comprehensive view of your prospects and your customers, everything, but all contained within a very, very visual presentation layer. And that's where I think it's going to go. To be honest, I think it's a crowded space right now, but I think you're going to see a lot of smaller and point solutions start to fall away. You'll see a lot of
Mhm.
M&A over the next while as well, where where CRM companies try to buy up point solutions and bolt them onto their system, which uh,
Mhm.
which rarely works very well anyway. But
Yeah.
so I think you're going to see some consolidation, but I also think you're going to see a re-emphasis on focus on sales and the real sales element of it, because I think there's been a lot of distraction around it. AI is fantastic, and we use AI ourselves as a support tool, but it's not going to sell
Mhm.
for you. And I think there's a lot of hype around AI as well. We've taken a much more realistic approach.
Maybe to some extent it could be a crutch, if you think
Yeah.
that by layering on more tools and by dropping the buzzwords like AI and machine learning, that maybe you can take a mediocre salesperson and make him a superstar. But still, there's
Yeah.
no substitute for the great training that has to happen
Yeah,
regardless.
it's like people in sports, I mean, we all know people who start out, golfing or something, and then they think if they buy the best and the biggest, and they keep changing their clubs or their driver, and they watch those ads on TV. It says you're going to hit the ball 500 yards straight if you just get this club, and at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference, because it's about the skill and practice.
Right, right. Uh, do you, within this crowded space, how do you position, or do you position along industry lines or around particular other functions? I know that it's really built for salespeople in mind with a visual interface. Are you seeing that there are certain industries that are really getting more traction than others, and are you trying to penetrate certain industries?
No, I mean, we're across. We're a broad solution, so we're across
Mhm.
industries. We have customers from many different industries. Some industries we've done particularly well in, like manufacturing, financial services, and IT, and place like that. And part of the reason is that when you have industries that believe in process, right, and you have organizations that believe in process, and you have sales organizations that believe in process and then we're a fantastic fit for them, because we're a process engine as much as anything else. But those are some of the ones. But we're a broad solution, and we kind of have customers across the globe in many different industries. So
Mhm.
we don't verticalize particularly. No.
Okay. Yeah. So I can see clearly with your history, you've done a lot of sales coaching, I presume, in your career, and our audience is primarily SaaS related. So there are a lot of people out there who are looking to make their SaaS sales teams more effective. Are there any particular things that you notice when it comes to a sales team doing SaaS demos that you feel like can be improved? And do you have any tips for SaaS salespeople to improve their close rates on demo calls?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main things, and one of the main things is I don't think SaaS is 100% different, obviously, than any other type of sales. I think there are some fundamental things that need to be done. And back when I was talking earlier about running Huthwaite, which has been selling for 7 or 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that was sales coaching, performance improvement for, we worked with companies large and small across the globe, very well known brand spin selling, obviously Neil Rackham.
Mm-hmm.
What I think today is preparation is everything, because as we know, there's a lot of information out there about your prospect and your client. So I think preparing, and I honestly think that is the one place where a lot of salespeople still fall down today, and especially in SaaS, and especially if you're doing a lot of maybe demos or calls, it's very easy to forget the prep part of it and to really prepare and understand and write down the questions you're going to ask, the follow-up questions. What outcome are you looking for? And if you can't get that outcome, what's a secondary outcome? And then to make sure when you start to engage with the prospect, and yeah, maybe they've signed up for a demo and they're anxious. Okay, show me your product, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to make sure that you ask some really good questions to set it up so that you end up showing what's important to them within a context of their business. So understand. So those discovery questions, those exploration right before diving straight into the demo, I think are really important. And then being able to flex with your demo, like being able to adopt what you're showing to what they've said to you, so being able to flex a little bit. So I think those are things. So I think you have to know your product really well, but you have to have that real curiosity about what's going on in their business, and then be able to relate what your product can do to obviously either solve that problem or grab that opportunity or improve things generally. But you have to have that curiosity. And I think sometimes, as I said, the prep work isn't always done great, and the curiosity doesn't always shine through either. And the other thing too is you got to be elegant. I mean, it's no good like just coming out with rote questions. You have to like really be able to make it your own, be conversational, be relational, all of those things. And I think those are more and more important than ever. And to be honest, if you do those, you're going to stand out, because unfortunately, I mean, I get a lot of calls, and there's a lot of SaaS sales people out there who just run straight into a script and want to demo everything to you without really relating it to what's important.
Yeah, maybe sometimes that's a function of just volume over quality, and if I can do without much prep, which takes time, if I can just run through 2 times the number of demos with a little bit more of a rigid script approach, my success rate might be a little bit lower, but I can make up for it with the volume, and maybe just simply leaning too much on just cranking through volume.
Yeah, that's always
Yeah,
a temptation for sure. But at the end of the day, if you look at the people who are really successful and look at what they do, you'll find out that they take a much more strategic approach.
yeah, yeah. And I suppose it also depends on the product itself and the price points and the size of the prospect and all that.
Well, there's one other thing, Paris. I'd say
Yeah,
also depends on the sales management. So it
yeah,
depends on the sales managers and what their focus is and what they're emphasizing, because at the end of the day, salespeople will take their cues from sales managers, sales leaders.
sure, absolutely. I want to return to spin selling. You've
Hmm.
brought it up a couple of times, and there's the famous book by um, by Neil Rackham. Can
Hmm.
you just, for the listeners out there who don't know what spin selling is, can you tell us what is spin selling? And I particularly want to know, do you still think it's relevant today for sales?
Uh, I do, because I do think it's still relevant today, because I think sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. And spin selling is just it's a questioning framework. And Neil Rackham, he based this on research he did many years ago. where he actually did proper like scientifically based research on sales and figured out, what the best salespeople were doing. Because here's an interesting thing, Paris, is often the best salespeople are what we call unconsciously competent, right? They can't tell you what they do really well, and they can't tell you how they do it. And it's an interesting phenomenon because often, organizations would say, "Oh, Paris is really good. Do what he does." And so we go up and say, "Okay, Paris, how do you approach?" And you're like, "Oh, well, I kind of do what I do," and you
just
can't
do my
And
thing.
so so he was the first one to really codify it and examine it and find the common traits. And so the model is really just about it's a questioning model for discovery and for really helping uncover needs. So the first thing in Spin is situation. So those are situation questions. Those are about your current situation today. Now, a lot of that today, obviously, you can find out all of that in advance. Because you can find out most of the things about the company, and therefore you can use that part really as kind of validation, just to open up the conversation and validate. The next one is problem questions. So starting to talk to you about some of the issues you're facing. And this is interesting, Paris, because a lot of salespeople, if they start on the problem discussion, right, and you mention that you have maybe an issue with something, a lot of salespeople will go, "Fantastic! I found something. He has an issue with this. My product solves it." So immediately they go into pitching the solution. Now the issue is that problem may not be a problem that you care to solve right now. It may not be a priority. It may not be that big a problem. It just happened to come to mind. So part of the process here is to really explore any of the issues that come up and figure out, are these big enough issues and important enough issues that you want to solve? So going that step forward. And then the I is for implication, is looking at what are the implications here of this issue, right? So if I explore it, whatever issue you came up with, if I keep exploring it with you, we come to the point, maybe the implications aren't that great, so you don't really care that much. Or maybe we can develop it to the implication is really great and beyond what you thought it would be without solving this problem. And then the final one is needs payoff, is where we say, okay, if we can solve this, our product can do X, Y, Z, and if we can solve these problems for you and deliver these results for you, that's something you'd be interested in. So it's really a framework. And I think frameworks are always useful. And I think people interact, it's a logical interaction framework, but it's one that helps you not dive in too early and not be too superficial, because that's where a lot of people fall down at the end of the day. So yeah, I think it's relevant today. Obviously, times change and you can evolve and adapt things, but as a fundamental questioning framework, I think it's as powerful as ever.
Yeah. And by creating the structure that's built around questioning, is that also designed to, well, on the one hand, you want to try to get your prospect talking more than you. So open-ended questions and just getting them to start sharing information. But is it also designed for them to pretty much arrive at the answer themselves rather than you trying to force it on them?
No, absolutely. Because, I mean, the first rule of communication is that people believe conclusions. They come to them by themselves above anything you can ever tell them, right? So, so part of the process. Yeah. So I like to think of it as it's like taking them on a journey and supporting them and helping them uncover things and realize maybe, and where you can add value in a sales call is by helping them actually uncover and see things that maybe weren't obvious to them. I mean, there's a huge value. We call them value drivers as well. A great value driver is when you uncover something with the customer that they weren't, or a prospect that they weren't even thinking about. You suddenly added huge value to the interaction because, like, oh, wow, that's interesting, and you've deepened the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an exploratory. It's an exploratory process, if you like, and it's really engaging the other person, and you're going on a journey together, and that's the way it should be in all sales, regardless of whether it's been selling or whatever. It should always be you working together to go on this exploratory journey.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that framework is applicable even beyond sales. I think I think even if we translate that to marketing, not necessarily when somebody arrives at your homepage should you immediately try to start showcasing features 1, 2, 3, 4, and rather you should try to get them to see themselves first and just show them use cases and make them say, "Oh, yeah, it's an IT manager who has an onboarding problem, but they've identified it and they've said that we solve this problem." I tend to think that if people can see themselves almost as if they're seeing a mirror,
Hmm.
if they can see themselves in a solution within about I don't know 30 seconds of visiting a website, then the chances of retaining them, avoiding the bounce rate, and maybe converting them goes way up.
For
And the
sure.
features should be secondary. And I think a lot of times with SaaS products, especially, a lot of the first phase of the evolution of the company is about building an amazing product. And naturally, the first thing you want to do when you then build a marketing website is, all right, now let's tell everybody about how amazing this is because we're so proud of it and it does these great things. But in fact, when people first come to check out something, they want to see ultimately is this gonna solve my problem? And if you anticipate those and call them out right up front with use cases, um, I think that's more effective. So
Yeah, you
that
know,
and that
absolutely.
yeah. So let's shift over to the marketing, and I know that's another area of responsibility for you.
Yep.
You say it's mostly product centric, and you versus other competitors, you're not necessarily as aggressive with the marketing. Can you just walk us through the overall marketing approach to Pipeliner?
Yeah, so I mean, as you said, I mean, the CRM is CRM space. You know, there's a lot of people in it, and there's new people coming in all the time. But the model that is used by most companies obviously is, you know, you start up, then you get a bit of seed capital, and then you go looking for uh, investment, and you go to venture capitalists, etc., and you try and get some Series A or whatever it is. And the problem is that all the CRM companies kind of do the same thing. They take a bunch of that money and they pump it into Google Ads or retarget marketing or whatever, and a huge amount of money is spent there. So there's a battle going on the search engines and the advertising
Hmm.
space. And to be perfectly frank, right? I mean, there's an 800-pound gorilla and a couple of other companies with a lot of money who are pumping a ton of money into advertising. So you have a choice. I mean, you can say, okay, that's what I need to do, and I'm going to try and compete there, or you can take a different approach, and that's what we have done over the years. Is that we have focused largely on content marketing and creating high quality, high value content for particularly for salespeople, and trying to help educate them and educate sales managers and support them in every way. And we found that to be uh, a much more sustainable and a much more successful strategy, because we tend to gather a lot of thought leaders around us. We gain a lot of attention because we don't just, as you say, we don't just put out features. We put out ebooks that explain, the business logic behind it and what you could do to help improve your business. We have Salespop that you can see behind us, where
Hmm.
I interview, thought leaders from across the globe, and we even make this content available within the product. So, when you're working in the product, we even pop up every day a sales related item which you can look at. So our whole marketing approach has been largely around, number one, content marketing, and number two is building very, very deep relationships with our customers, and with them being testimonials and referrals and all of that. So that's our whole approach to marketing. And we like to think that it's a little bit of a more sophisticated, it's a little bit harder. Obviously, it's a lot
Hmm.
easier just to send your money to Google if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've taken a different approach.
Yeah, I really do like that, and really trying to define the terms of what battle you want to participate in, because the gorillas, everybody knows it's Salesforce and HubSpot are the probably the two names that come to mind there. Um, you're not going to outspend them, and they can even allocate a portion of that investment even at a loss in order to
Oh, no,
subsidize
no, no.
other things.
100%, and they just drive
Mhm.
the pay-per-click costs way up, and if that's, like I said, if that's what you want to do and you want to try and compete head on,
Yeah.
I don't know whether charging head on at an £800 gorilla is always the best option to choose.
No, probably not. Yeah. So let's dive a little deeper into content marketing. Can you walk us through your approach to developing a content strategy and then actually executing that against some sort of roadmap or editorial calendar? How does it work?
Yeah, so there's two parts to our content strategy. There's number one, there's the product related content, and like I said, is we produce a lot of content that shows the business application behind what we do with Pipeliner, and not just the business application, but also helps you with understanding how to apply different ideas and concepts to your business and how the product supports it. So again, we go at a much deeper level of trying to educate and help people and show them how they can leverage the platform, to solve business issues and get business results. And so we produce a lot of content around that, and that is something that our prospects and customers highly appreciate. We do a lot of video content around the product as well. We have I would say we have the best videos and the most comprehensive video library out there. And again, it's something that prospects and customers, really appreciate. And then on the broader scale, like with Salespop, we look for thought leaders in sales marketing, motivation, leadership, and we look for people who are going to inspire and bring new ideas to people. And this is part of our kind of commitment to education, if you like. It's almost our altruistic part of our business, where we're trying to help educate people by being the conduit to bring great information and thought leaders and great insights from people across the globe. And again,
Hmm.
that enhances our brand as well, because again, it's a different approach. Nobody can
Yeah.
compete. There's not a CRM company out there that can compete with Salespop, even if I do say so myself.
I'm on Salespop right now, and by the way, what I can see is these numbers are staggering. Salespop TV has 840 plus videos.
Mm-hmm.
The blog's got 2,210 articles, podcast 650 plus audio streams. So you all have, this is a mountain of content,
Yeah, yeah.
especially video and audio content.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
it's clear you all have
it's an
invested.
engine, but it's
Mhm.
like it's also quite intimate too, because it's there's a lot of conversation between two people, and that's what we try to do, just kind of like what we're doing today, Paris,
Yeah.
and trying to bring really high quality content. Because here's the other thing: there's a lot of companies do content marketing or try to do content marketing, but the quality isn't there. The quality of content, it's like throwing out rote content, and it's just like, oh, maybe I can find somebody online here who can just throw a load of content together for me and just pump out content, which I call just noise. Like, just add to the
Mhm.
noise. Why don't you? We're big on quality, like I said, whether it's the content around our product with the ebooks and our website and all the great stuff that we do there, the videos, or whether it's on Salespop with very interesting and comprehensive content coming from very eclectic sometimes perspectives. But we do believe in education, and I think at the end of the day, our commitment to educating both our customers and the world at large with sales
Mhm.
pop, I think that's what makes us stand apart.
Yeah. So I'm curious, as now on the brand level here, we've got a few brands, and in particular, you have the product brand, which is Pipeliner, and then you've got Salespop, which is it's really the media brand, I suppose, because this is
Sure.
where all of the content's coming from. How do you bridge those brands? How do you get people to cross over from identifying and placing value with all that great content at Salespop to then transferring that value and trust over to Pipeliner when they have a need to actually shop around for a CRM?
Yeah, I mean, like it is obvious. I mean, the sales pop is supported by by Pipeliner, and it's sponsored by Pipeliner and all of that.
Mhm.
And I think that lends its own credibility to the fact that we don't just produce content related to the platform, and we don't just produce content that we're hoping is going to immediately convert you to purchase a CRM, which would be nice, our CRM, which would be nice. But
Mhm.
that's not the purpose here. The purpose is to really to support and educate people, and I think that's where we build trust. Uh, we build trust with our audience through that, and because of that, then when they're looking for CRM or whatever, or when the people that I interview, when they hear of people looking for CRM, they will talk about Pipeline, and they say you should check these guys out. They do really
Mhm.
interesting things. So it's a kind of if you like, it's a reputation builder, but also it's a trust builder, and I think that's that's the biggest part. I think it builds enormous trust and goodwill, and we have such great connections with with our guests and audience that it helps promote the brand in a I would say a far more effective way in many ways.
Mhm. Yeah, I can see that there. I think you seem to be striking the right balance of having. You have some calls to action clearly that
Sure.
when that where if you're consuming that content, if you're ready to talk to somebody about Pipeliner,
Yep.
here you go, and you can set up a demo. But I don't think it's overdone, and I don't think there's just certainly a line that could be crossed where it just seems like it's a little bit forceful. But I think you
Yeah.
all are striking the right balance.
Yeah, and that was our approach from the very beginning. Was that we didn't want to just do another product centric blog or site or whatever. We wanted to do something that's of much higher value, because that's what we believe in. We really believe in education. We believe in quality content,
Mhm.
and that is part of our brand equity, if you like, as well. Part of the facets of our brand is our commitment to education.
Mhm. Yeah. And I'm curious to know also when it comes to converting users either through a product led growth experience where they can just dive in and get started on a free trial versus scheduling a demo with someone on the sales team. Do you prefer to have them go through one channel or the other, or generally, what is the split, and how do you handle those two paths?
Yeah, I mean, ideally we want to have a chance to engage with somebody, and not just to do a demo, because we want to really engage with them to understand their challenges and their business needs and the results and outcomes they're looking for. Because the product is so rich in many ways, is that if you just take a trial on your own, you may not hit the pieces that are of most importance to you. So that's why we like to do a
Hmm.
demo, and I don't even like to call it a demo so much. I'd like to say that we like to do a good exploratory discovery call with people, where we can show them, ultimately, once we understand what it is that they're looking to do and what problems they're trying to solve, that we can then show them how the product can deliver on that and which parts of the product can deliver on
Hmm.
that. Because, like I said, it's quite a comprehensive product. If people go take a trial and want to want to be on their own and do it, that's fine too. We have built-in tours. We have a lot of help built into our product. We have a knowledge base. We have the videos we talked about. We have live chat available. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
ways for people to interact. But ideally, obviously, you would like to engage them, because you'd like to understand what it is they're trying to achieve and show them how the product can support that, or what parts of the products and features can support that. Uh, and that's why we do try to get people to talk to us for a little bit and have a demo, because
Hmm.
we think the richness of that experience is something that really impacts them.
Gotcha. How many salespeople do you have over there?
We have quite a sizable sales team. I'm not going to give out
Okay.
numbers on things, because people always love to try and
Gotcha.
try and
Yeah. Yeah.
extrapolate things when you throw out a number. But yeah, but we have a mixture. We have internal salespeople. We have people who are it's what we'd like to call pipelinepreneurs, which is independent salespeople in different parts of the world who also sell Pipeliner.
Mhm. And what the most successful people on that team? What would be a what kind of close rates do they have in a quarter when they really crush it?
That's an interesting question. Like I do have that data, but I would say the close rates. I mean, you want to have a close rate, somewhere in the 25% upwards. When you're down to the
Hmm.
wire on stuff,
Hmm.
heading even higher if you're really good. But I tell you what, the our most successful salespeople, I would say one of the keys to it is passion and belief in the product, because that is the one thing that you can't put a price on. Because so many times if you engage with somebody, or as a salesperson has engaged with you, and you're like, they don't really seem to care that much about their product. They're not excited about it. They're not passionate about it. And why
Yeah.
am I gonna buy something from somebody who sells the product? I presume they use it themselves, and they're not even that excited about it, right? and
Yeah.
and so that one of the things is, our best salespeople passionately believe in the product, passionately believe it's going to help and change people's business for the better. And if it turns out during an engagement that it looks like that we're not a fit for them, they're very, very, they will get out and they'll say, like, that's this doesn't look like it's the right solution for you.
Hmm.
Here are some other ones that you might want to look at. But I just really don't think you can substitute passion and belief, but you have to have the product behind it. And I think that's the key, is
Hmm.
because we believe so passionately, because we know we have the best product, the most comprehensive product, the most visual
Hmm.
product. So it's very easy for us to get passionate about it. But I'm telling you, passion goes a long way, because that's what people want. You want to get excited. You want to say, I want to be as excited about your product as you are.
Yeah. And does that passion come through rigorous training that the salespeople go through to get a really deep understanding? Or do you think it's sparked just by them using the product every day and eventually just realizing that this is a great experience and I want to communicate that to somebody else?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, we obviously train people and make sure that they understand the product on a very deep level. But also, it's when they start using and engaging with the product themselves, they suddenly, because most people have experience with CRMs from other companies, and yeah, it normally makes you want to, you know, throw up when somebody says, "Here's your CRM."
Yeah.
But when they start to use, Pipeliner, and they're like, "This is fantastic," and they learn things, and they get. And here's the other thing, which I think is really interesting, Paris, is often our sales team, when we have sales meetings, like, because we obviously use our own product, will discover something, or say, "Oh, you can do this. Oh, this is fantastic." Then everybody gets excited, and they can't wait to tell prospects and existing customers about something else that they've discovered that you can do with the product. So it's both
Hmm.
it's both the training part, which is important, but it's really the usage and the experiential part of it is what really gets people fired up. And that's what we find with customers and prospects, is that once they get to really experience, they're like, "Wow, this is so different."
Hmm. Excellent. Well, John, if it's all right, I'd like to ask you something about the martial arts stuff now, because that I found that
Sure.
very interesting in your bio. Can you, what are you doing in that area of life?
Yeah, well, I do taekwondo, and I do a bit of boxing as well. And I started, I've done martial arts sort of kind of on and off in my youth a little bit, or my early adult. But when my son was born, he's 16 now. When he was a couple of years old, I thought, he's an only child, and I think martial arts would be really good for him, just from a confidence builder. So I
Hmm.
started him. I started him in martial arts when he was 3, and
All right.
uh, and then I decided, I was persuaded, actually, but to, why don't you do it with him? And
Hmm.
to be honest, best decision of my life in many ways. So we started martial arts together, and we still do it together today. So, we're 13 and a half years or so or 13 years or so of martial arts. And what I love about it is that it's one of the few places left that, like, teach you, like, respect, teach you, discipline, all of those things that, maybe a lot of
Hmm.
people could, maybe is lacking in some other places in the world today. But that's what and the other part as well is, and I think the great thing about martial arts is, you are not competing against other people, really. You're competing against yourself, because there's always going to be somebody bigger, stronger, faster, more flexible, more nimble, whatever it is. So you have to compete against yourself. You have to look every day at, how am I improving as a martial artist personally, and it's that, and I think it's that individualism in many ways within the context of group. Obviously, I belong to a dojang and have a master and all of that, and other people who train with me, but really.
Mm-hmm.
It's intensely yourself, how you are trying to improve in mind and body all the time as well, and commitment, and those are the things. And I think those are very pure elements, and I think those really help you in life, because it's a great way of looking. Martial arts is often about problem solving, and it's about adapting and things like that. And I think those serve you really, really well in life. Plus, it's a lot of fun, and I like kicking people. That's not true.
It must be a great, if nothing else, a great way to get some stress out.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And a really,
seriously,
really cool thing.
Well, it is, because let's face it. I mean, especially if you're sparring and stuff, you can't really be thinking about other things, because otherwise you're going to get a punch in the head.
Yeah. You better be present in the moment, huh?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
exactly.
You might find yourself on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great, John. And then thanks for that additional dimension. I think it's fascinating how you blend clearly a real passion for sales and helping salespeople improve their careers and their lives, along with the martial arts side and the self-improvement. I think there's a really, really cool underlying theme going on there. So it's been fascinating to talk to you and learn about that. Is there anything that I haven't asked you so far that you wished I would have asked you, or that you want our audience to know?
No, I think you covered a lot in this, Paris. I think that's everything. So at the risk of, I think this is a good place probably for us to leave it. So at risk of boring people.
No, I think this has been fascinating, and we really did cover a lot. We got reacquainted with the art of spin selling, and we talked a lot about the CRM space and how you're marketing in a unique way to pick your battles carefully, which I think is very smart. And ending with the martial arts stuff. So we did cover quite a lot of ground.
Absolutely.
John, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for being with me.
Yeah, listen, it was fantastic, Paris. Thanks for the great questions. Love it. Perfect.
Sure thing. All right. Take care, and look forward to keeping in touch.
Absolutely.